This is a scene. I could take this opportunity to paint you sunlush, intrepid bathers, chittering starlings, staunch men in waders, fish jumpy, skiving teenagers. Or as a giant, humbly crashing, drowning sailors, waylaying jet skiers, saviour of bird life, put outer of reed fires. Mention what you hug. You get the picture. But she didn't leave you that way, mister. So this is the scene. Salty and briny, iron grey, outside the V&A on a Friday in February 2020. Permit me to say, she is not always an easy conversationalist. She went to you asking for a slap, as well as for solace. We humans do that to rivers often. There's something about how you flow that makes us want you, when our bodies are full of traumas. I'm staring in the river. I am staring at the river. I've walked here slowly, but as if with purpose, and my poet coat is flapping long and silvery. I am smoking a cigarette. I am looking morosely. I am a poet acting poetly by a river. I bet you get that a lot. And not just from poets, your solo visitors gripping you for comfort, feeling, perhaps acting, as if they're in their own movie, and posting pics of you to Instagram with the hashtag solace. But fair chap, in our scene, that day you didn't witness the best of her. It was about 1:30 p.m, and she was wishing she had called Zoe. She was on Dundee for only a day, but with work done early, there was time for coffee and conversation and hugging. There was so much she didn't know that day. She had a heart full of stony ache for a past that mightn't ever have existed. Fresh grief for a love that had her jealous of her own hands for ever having been held, swollen lip from biting worry in an inbox full of knives, and jealous scolds circling blackly, tip-tapping into phones with evil grins and hearts of cobblestones, she imagined, grimacing. She felt very put upon, as if others were skimming stones at her and not caring if they hurt or even landed, or just plopped splashily right to the depths of her, and all just for the fun of it. Worries jammed her core, a spine of rust. She felt so broke, and there was so much she did not know. As she gripped that moment, that cold and salt, that ire flow, as she walked your side, thinking of so many folks she wished she could tell she loved them in a way that would sail them back. Regret is useless. Love is all, but she didn't call Zoe or anyone, as her belly was tight with dark resentment, a bitter metal claw of hurt, like an abandoned shopping cart, a rusting bike, definitely something metal and spiked. A strange detritus seemed to fill her body's centre ground. She wanted to keep it hidden from faces who'd stare at hers with concern, away from people who knew it well and had seen its former joy and light, so would spot its changed contours, its swollen eyes, predict its weather and know its forecast, and worst, offer advice. She dismissed all of this advice and could not hear it, as those who warned of your changes in the 1930s were routinely dismissed as cranks because nobody wanted to know. And now we know what we didn't know before, and crank up changes in our approach. But no, not on that day. No advice. She wanted a grey soak and your indifference. No, it doesn't matter in the grandness of time. No advice, no comfort, no anything, just a fullness from a vast body of water that will survive, has survived so much already. She didn't know the world had already changed. We didn't know so much that day, you and I and her. Any camera she'd been managing for months was belied by the jaggy metal visible at her low tides. This is a scene that is called to mind. You, River, her. I could have taken this opportunity to fictionalise or imagine other scenes. Describe the fairyland amongst your wildness, sing of enchanting bird song, the fussy bustle of sand martins nesting. I have known you at other times, in other places. What she didn't know before is how pearls can be extracted without damaging the shellfish. But the amateurs have a tendency to destroy living things in pursuit of their jewels. So prized is the possession of this small, shining thing. She didn't know, and nor did I, how even beside a body of water a casually cast aside cigarette can destroy so much, and how those waters will be used to put out a fire it did not cause. Oh, River, these links are tenuous. I am obviously talking about something more to do with her, something I wish I could have said to her before now. It's about how you can't reduce a vast multitude to one scene, paint the all of her or you as that one grey day, not when you're over 1 million pairs of starlings making that bridge over you their home, not when you are both calm as a beautiful day with Alan fishing you, and where Janie goes to walk her dogs, and where ships have been tossed and also sailed, and where that couple fell in love and some proposed and some have drowned, and artists uncover your beauty in paint and words. And she went to you that day because humans were proving difficult, and she needed the simplicity of a body of water that could make her own body not feel so rushing, and where people have lived and loved and worked and replied upon you following a pattern depending on the strip of where you are, and reducing you to this one scene only, this tiny bunch of elements. Even after I've researched your history, like a little ending, as if everything else is of no importance, like this scene was the final scene of the biopic, the end point, the last moments. Treat her as if she were as losable and lost as a shipwreck, or that you are just this snapshot when you are humble and huge, giant and bigger than all of this tiny pondering. You are not this grey and bitter thing, and she is not this one day either. No, neither of you are merely the some things said. You are not these tiny elements, this cut off, this block, as if no flow. Treated carefully, a mussel will create up to 32 pearls in a culturing cycle. So there you go. A river will keep indifferently flowing only if you're not watching closely. A body will hold its trauma, but eventually make something shiny, valuable out of the grit and grind that always finds its way into this living thing, doing its living thing. And the tides it is tossed on may be ferocious as it clings to the bed it's made. This is the scene. I think of her walking greyly, and how much she did not know then, when she posted her own scene to the world with the caption, "Killing time in that Dundee," and nothing more. Keep it rolling, because she gathered up her silvery coat and got the train. went home, called Zoe from the station to rearrange for another day, for coffee, for conversation, for hugs, for love, for pearls.